In the developing town of Akure, where the house stood tall like royalty and cars parked under the shade sun, lived a woman named Toyosi. Her skin was like polished shoe, her smile sweet like ripe mango, and her beauty turned heads from one corner of the street to the next. But beauty, as the elder says, is not the full palm wine grand. You must taste the content. Toyosi and Benga had married a young successful man who owned several transport companies and real estate. He was the kind man who didn't just dream. Generously, soft spoken, and refined. Gbenga had everything a woman could ask for, and yet he had made one grave mistake. He loved Toyosi too blindly. From the moment they married, Gbenga did everything, not because Toyosi couldn't, but because she wouldn't. He hired a cook. Toyosi fired her. He brought in a housekeeper. Toyosi chased her out. I don't need help, she said, sitting by the poolside drinking orange juice. I just need you to take care of me. Benga will come home from meeting at midnight only to find Toyosi spread herself on the couch watching Nigeria soup movie. Untouched, the dishes in the sink loaded high like mountains, and the house smelling like forgotten fish. He sighed, rolled up his sleeves, and cleaned everything himself. You are a good husband. Toyosi will rub his back after he scrubbed the kitchen floor. Every morning before the first bell could sing, Benga will slide out of their king-sized bed without waking her. He walked barefoot across the cold tiles to the kitchen, tied a faded apron around his waist, and began preparing breakfast from scratch. Spiced tea with glucose and ginger, soft bread warmed over the stove, and sometimes fried plantain with eggs. Toyosi favourite. He will carry the tray upstairs, lay it beside her on the bed, and whispered, "Good morning, beauty." Toyosi will stretch and said, "Not milk today," before pushing the cup aside and rolling over. After breakfast, he ironed her clothes, polished her heels, and even arranged her wigs on the manicure head. On rare days she did go out, he will walk her to the car, open the door, and close it gently behind her like she was a queen in a garden. Benga will soak, scrub, rinse, and hanged her lace dresses carefully not to scratch. The fabric he wiped every window, mopping every floor, dusted every ornament, even the ones she bought and never touched. Gbenga will run himself walking through supermarket with a list in one hand and a phone in the other, as Toyosi dictated new items to add. DSTV, water, electricity, fuel, never late, never off. Hair appointments, Gbenga will book them and drop her off. He even waited in the car, sometimes for hours, just so she wouldn't have to take an Uber. Whenever she is bored, He will plan weekend getaway beach resort, shopping trips, even late night movie dates. However, Toyosi never lifts a finger one day. Gbenga had a fever, his body burning hot, lips cracked. Shivering under a blanket, Toyosi walked into the room, took one look, and said, "Don't forget, I need to go to the salon by 2 p.m." He forced himself up, sweating through his shirt, and drove her there. Gbenga's mother came to visit from the village. Toyosi refused to cook. The old woman sat on the couch, hungry, until Gbenga cooked a meal by himself for his mother, while his wife watched TikTok on her phone. The elders whispered. Friends warned him. However, Gbenga held on. Love is patient, he will say to them, and I believe she will change. One Saturday afternoon, Gbenga's oldest friend visited him at their big mansion. Tosin was just as wealthy, maybe more. However, he was unlike Gbenga. Tosin was sharp, principled, and didn't tolerate nonsense. He watched Toyosi walk past them in a skill robe, yawning at 2 p.m. Gbenga tried to smile. She is tired. Toyosi shook his head, sipping his whiskey. Tired of what? He asked. Changing channel? Gbenga gave a low chuckle. She is tired. Then Tosin said, My brother, you are not married to a wife. You are hosting a guest. You have built a kingdom and put her on the throne while you clean the dungeon. Gbenga sighed. I thought love was about service. He said, Love is not slavery. Tosin snapped. You are not helping her. You are burying her dignity and yours. However, Gbenga still held on. But one day, Gbenga was driving home after a 4 hours business trip. Gbenga had a flat tire on the highway. He called Toyosi for help. No answer. He called again and again. Still no response. 3 hours later, when he arrived home, dusty, tired, and walking from a twist ankle, he found Toyosi dancing in the living room, filming herself for TikTok, wearing one of the new dresses he had ordered for her from Dubai. He stood in the doorway, staring at her with the pain in his legs, and finally asked, Toyosi, if I collapse on the road today, will you ever notice? She laughed, not seeing the seriousness in his eyes. He walked past her into the kitchen, washed his face, then said the word that changed everything. Starting tomorrow, I will no longer carry this marriage alone. The next morning, true to his words, Gbenga changed everything. He didn't bring Toyosi breakfast in bed. He didn't iron her clothes. He didn't mop the floor she dirty with her sandals. The laundry filled up. The dishes so high the house echoed with silence. Instead, he sat in front of the house, drinking tea, reading the newspaper. Toyosi came down the stairs, eyes wide. Where is my tea? and toast bread. Benga turned a page of the newspaper. In the fridge, you can make it. Toyosi blinked. You expect me to cook? Yes. Enter the kitchen. Silence fell over the house like Amatime dust. As days passed by, Benga acts like a guest in his own mansion. Toyosi tried to complain, screamed, manipulated, nagged, insulted him, and threatened to leave. However, Benga just listened, calm, steady. Eventually, frustrated and angry, she packed her designer's bag. I am going to find a real man. She screamed as the gate opened and she stormed into an Uber and left. Weeks later, Toyosi met Wale at a luxury event. Wale was even richer than Benga. His business stretched to Dubai, London and South Africa. His teeth were white, his laughter deep, and his color made women turn twice. In a week, they were lovers. In 2 weeks, she moved into his higher rise mansion, and Wale treated her like royalty. He cooked. He brought her beautiful dresses. He even flew in private chief to serve her breakfast. Toyosi thought she had won. She wore expensive and beautiful lace, posting on social media with captions: "When you level up, don't look back." However, Wale was not a fool. One morning, as she lay in bed at 11 a.m., he stood at the doorway in a white shirt, arms folded. "Toyosi," he said calmly, "get up. We are going to the farm." She quickly sat up, confused. "Farm? What farm?" "The one you'll be managing. There is work waiting." She started laughing. "You are joking, right?" "I am not joking," he replied. "You said you want luxury. Then you must know what builds it." "I am not a worker. I am a queen." Then he stepped closer. "No queen lives off another man's sweat forever. You have had your honey. Now, taste the pepper." Toyosi was confused. So Wale changed. No more chefs, no more message, no more meals. The maids were gone. The house was quiet. He handed her a broom. "Sweep. Woman do sweep where they live." He placed cassava on the counter. "Peel it." She started shouting, cried, threw things, called him wicked man. However, he didn't blink. "How did I end up with a man like you?" As she screamed, "You said you wanted a man who does everything." He said, "Here is the truth. A man like that becomes nothing, and a woman like you remains nothing." Toyosi pride cracked. Her voice broke. She sat down on the kitchen floor and wept, not for hunger but from the shame of wasted time. For 3 straight days, Toyosi did nothing. She lay on the bed and wrapped in a blanket of anger, pride, and disbelief. No one brought her breakfast. No sweet smelling jollof appeared. No perfume gift boxes arrived. The once glowing mansion now felt like a cold cell. On the fourth day, her stomach roared like thunder. Hunger twisted her inside like a squeezed sponge. She peeped into the kitchen, empty, no aroma, no bubble stew, nothing. As her eyes landed on a tuber of yam, sitting like a deer on the counter, she stepped closer, picked it up, was heavier than she expected. Her hands trembled as she grabbed a knife. She stared at the knife. I can't believe this, she said to herself. Then came Wale's voice, cool and clear, behind her. That yam won't cook itself. She shocked. She dropped the knife. It fell on the tiles. Wale walked in slowly, placed a pot of water on the stove, and looked at her. You want comfort, Toyosi? Then build it. You want respect? Earn it. You want love? Then stop acting like a burden. He turned and left the kitchen. Toyosi stood in froze, her pride screaming in one ear, but hunger shouting louder in the other ear. Slice, slice, she peeled the yam unskillfully, nearly sliced her thumb. She boiled it, the kitchen filled with smoke. But the food was manageable. She sat at the table, chewing slowly, face tight with embarrassment. But it didn't end there. The next morning, Wale banged on her door. Up, it is 1 p.m. Why? She shouted angrily. We are going to the market. The sun burned high over the market like an unforgiving judge. Toyosi stepping out of the Wale's pick-up truck, holding a worn shopping list, her designer sunglasses wet with sweat. She was dressed in heels, as her heels clicking through the dirty and slippery plantain peels. Bring back change, Wale called out from the driver's seat. And don't let them confuse you. Toyosi waved him off with false confidence, then turned and stepped into the war. Women were shouting like warriors. Fresh tomatoes here, sweet onion, 2 or 5. Fine girl, see fresh tomatoes. Come, this okra is fresh. A fond breeze of smoked fish and sweat slapped her face as she staggered back, holding her Gucci purse tight. She approached a plantain seller. How much? She asked, trying to sound bold. 10,000. That is too much. The woman started laughing loudly. See me see trouble. Then go and plug your own from the bush. Toyosi face burned. She bought it anyway, overpaying and grabbing it like stolen goose. By the time she finished the list, her dress was stained with palm oil. Her wig covered half of her head. Her arms shaking from carrying the heavy bag. She reached the car. Wale stared at her, then at the items. He picked up a tiny bag of Maggi cubes. 1,500 naira? They cheated you. Toyosi blinked. You didn't ask for the price? They were shouting. I was overwhelmed. Wale tightened his teeth. You want to eat like a queen, but you don't know how to survive like a woman. Tears fell from her eyes. She looked away, humiliated. Tomorrow, he said coldly, you go again in slippers with a basket and you learn. The next day, Wale dropped fresh fish, onion and pepper on the counter. Make light soup, real light soup, not that hotel mess. Toyosi nodded as she watched YouTube videos. How hard could it be? She says. First, she didn't cut the fish. Then she blended raw pepper without removing the seed and dirty. She dumped it all in one pot. No season, no salt. Then increased the heat to the highest level. 30 minutes later, smoke blew from the kitchen. She opened the pot and jumped back. The fish had burned to black, the soup floating like dead leaves. Wale walked in, sniffed, and stopped dead. What is that smell? He shouted. Toyosi turned, shame on her face, apron twisted, a spoon in her hand like a weapon of surrender. It's soup, she said weakly. Wale walked over, lifted the lid, and stared into the disaster. This isn't soup, this is insult. Then she replied, I tried. What? You cook charcoal. You said you cook soup. No, you didn't try. You rush. Look at you. You thought beauty and eyelashes will cook for you, right? He stormed out angrily, slamming the kitchen door. Toyosi sank to the floor, tears falling onto the tiles. The once proud, pampered woman was now surrendered by pot, smoke, and shame. Toyosi woke up at 10 a.m. and found the house still in silence. No scent of coffee, no horn of washing machine, no maid, still no driver waiting. She walked to the living room. Wale was there, arm folded. I thought we agree on 6 a.m. house chores, he said. I was tired. You don't get to be tired when you have done nothing. His voice was low but filled with anger. Then she started crying and sharing crocodile's tears. Why are you treating me like a house girl? Then Wale replied, because you have the behavior of one but not skill. You are wicked. No, he said, stepping closer. I am wise. I refuse to carry another woman's laziness on my back. You left your first husband because he stopped serving you. Now, you think I will be your next donkey. Wale pointed to the door. You either rise or you leave. Toyosi was broke down. That night, she sat alone in the dark kitchen. She looked at her damaged finger, her burnt steel, and the pain in her back. Her reflection on the microwave glass didn't look like the proud woman she once was. I am going to move away again? What have I become? She whispered to herself. I am not a wife, not a partner, just decoration. Her tears dropping quietly. Then she stood up slowly. She washed her face. She cleaned the cutter. She peeled yams, boiled eggs, swept the floor. It was far from perfect, but it was hers. For once, she earned the silence. It was not forced on her. The next day, Wale walked in to the sitting room. and saw breakfast waiting, hot tea, toast bread, prepared boiled yam, and eggs. He looked at her with disbelief. You cooked? She nodded. No help? She replied. No, just me. Wale sat down, picked up a fork, tasted the egg. Then he smiled softly. Not bad. 6 months, she was no longer the soft, idle rose who flew on air. She was still beautiful, but there was something new in her eyes now. Wale asked her to deliver a sealed envelope to Tosin, Benga's friend. Tosin lived across from Wale's new home. Toyosi stood at the iron gate as her heart pounding harder. She didn't plan to see Benga. She hasn't rehearsed what to say. She wasn't even dressed for performance. No makeup, no false lashes, just a modest dress, flat slippers, and a scarf tied around her head. She handed the envelope to the security guard, then turned to leave. That is when she heard her name. Toyosi, she froze, that voice firm, deep, and calm. Slowly she turned, and there he stood. Benga, still tall, still regal, but different. There was peace in his face, a steadiness, his eyes more focused. He looked better, like a man who had rested, healed, and grown. He took a step closer. She smiled, then said softly, "Hello, Benga." He stared at her for a moment. She looked real for once. She looked human. No makeup, no perfume, just Toyosi. He nodded. "You look changed." She gave a smile. "I have been. Life has taught me." Benga raised an eyebrow. "Really?" She hesitated, then said, "Do you remember the day you cooked for my mother when I refused to eat? The day you drove me to the salon with a fever? The time I spent 3 million on wigs while you were eating garri for lunch?" Benga folded his arms, saying nothing. "I remember now," she continued, voice trembling. "I see it. Every choice, every meal, every silent tears you swallowed, so I could stay comfortable. I didn't deserve it, Benga." Benga looked at her, long and quiet. "Why are you telling me this now?" Toyosi blinked. "Because I don't know then what I meant to be loved. And I don't know what it meant to love back." Tears rising from her eyes. He looked down, then back to her. "And do you know now?" She nodded. "I do." Silence filled the air. "I am not here to ask for anything," she said. "Not to come back. I just needed to say thank you, and I am very sorry." Then Benga replied, "I hope whoever you are with now see the woman you have become." She smiled. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and with that she turned and walked back to the gate and left. Benga, on the other hand, remained focused. He built more business, and one day, without bitterness, he married again, a gentle woman who understood, that love is a two-way road, not a burden carried by one. In life, beauty may open doors, but character keeps you inside and safer. So, bestie, I hope you've learned one or two things from this story. Do well to like, share, and subscribe till I bring another story your way. Bye.